So, what I really want to talk about today is my experience in joining an artist guild. This is being recorded in 2025. I joined several months ago, back in July. And the road to joining an artist guild has been pretty long. First of all, I wasn't even really aware that they are around. I wasn't sure why someone would join one because in this day and age, what you're mostly exposed to in terms of art are two things. First, the physical, going to galleries or craft fairs, artist markets, right? So you kind of think, oh, well, that's what artists do. They make a deal with a gallery and that's where they sell their work, or they buy a table for a weekend at a fair or a market. And then you kind of have this idea that the rest of the time they're probably sitting in their studio making that art. So the first way you get exposed to art is in the physical way. The second, and probably bigger now in the last 10, 15 years, is by following artists online. Instagram, TikTok, wherever you kind of follow artists. And what do they always show? They show their studio behind the scenes. They show a lot of process, right? Maybe they will, flip the canvas around and show you the finished product, if you will. And again, you don't really know what artists do the rest of the time. What's not being filmed? What else is a part of an artist's life? And completely by chance, back in June, I took my son to a volunteer fair. Had nothing to do with my artistry. We were looking for volunteering, opportunities because he needs his 40 hours of volunteer work. That's how it goes in high school in Ontario, where I live. And one of the vendors there was not looking for any volunteers, as many of them were actually. They were simply looking for members. And the local artist guild was there. The two ladies that were at the table were, I believe, both founding members of the artist guild that has been around here where I live in rural Ontario for over 20 years, I think. And so I chatted with them, and they invited me to come to one of the monthly meetings to kind of see how it's set up. But really, it turned into a day when I joined the guild. And that's kind of one of those things that you don't realize necessarily that it is part of an artist's life to belong to organizations that are membership based. And so, for some of you who may be starting to be an artist right now, but if you're not in art school or you don't know a lot of artists in your area, perhaps, and you're just kind of making art at home, posting it perhaps on social media, you may not even be aware that this is a thing. Which for me was kind of in between. I was kind of aware, but pretty much was making art out of my studio and only showing it on social media. So it's been a few months now, and there's a few things that I learned already from joining the guild. The first one is that you really gain a sense of community when you join an artist guild. When you make that decision to try to join, you can expect that there would be some kind of vetting process, perhaps an interview. For me, it was literally being invited to an actual monthly meeting of a guild where, I was asked to bring samples of my work. It didn't really feel like an interview because it didn't feel like they're, may not be taking me, but it will depend on the guild, right? And it will depend on the area. Perhaps they already checked me out online and kind of saw that, I'm a real deal. If you live in a busier city and there's a lot more people wanting to join a guild, so there's bigger competition, chances are that, there will be a more involved interview process. But for me, it was pretty easy. I brought in my application right away, already filled out. And the other thing that you can expect is that there will be an annual fee. I mean, from what I've seen so far, the annual fees are fairly modest. These are nonprofit organizations. The fee that you pay is going towards covering events and spending money on promotions and on a store, like a Christmas store that a guild might run, and all kinds of things like that. Maybe a plein air event. All of that needs some setup and some fees. So that's where your fees are going towards. But back to the sense of community. Again, being an isolated artist as I was, just kind of working out of my studio for years, only posting things on social media. And you know how social media works, like there's the 12 people who really know you and love you and like every single thing you post. The rest of the people, like I have just over 2,000 followers on Instagram right now, very modest amount, are people you have no idea who they are. I mean, you can look at some stats, but these are not people you know personally. And it's like posting into a void. So you're really not necessarily getting that sense of community of artists when you're just starting out. By joining the guild, I obviously gained the community of the actual members. And then as you participate in the events hosted by the guild, participating in gallery shows and things like that, you grow your community more, you get to know more people. I just met a lovely uh, lady who's a local artist who came to my studio tour. Studio tour is something that was hosted by um, the guild, and I got to participate in and invited people to my home. Well, I had a few artists stop by who are just, we're going through the tour. They're not guild members, but they were going through the tour, and we got to know each other, and now we follow each other on Instagram, and now we're going somewhere together. So you really gain a sense of community, and it's so, so refreshing after the isolation of social media, which is a oxymoron, right? It's supposed to be social media, um, and before that, pandemic and things like that. The second thing I learned is that you actually get a lot of perks and a lot of doors open for you as being part of a artist guild. So some of the typical things that a guild will do is, first of all, events. So there's studio tours, or you can call them studio crawls. You've probably seen or been to some in your kind of local community where you live. Um, you can start easy and kind of bring your work to someone else's studio so that they are the host and you are the, I don't know what it's called, the visiting artist or something like that, basically, so that you don't have to host a bunch of people you don't know who might be going through the studio tour, which is basically, people are given a map of studios in the area and they drive between them visiting artists' homes. And well, if the studio is at home, if you have actual studio that's maybe a separate little building or like a shed or garage or actually built out studio, maybe that's where you're inviting people. But for a lot of us, it's some part of our home property. But I actually thought, well, I have a pretty nice, warm, fuzzy house. um, and I can invite people right here. So the living room I'm sitting in was my kind of showcase room. And then whoever wanted could go downstairs to my actual studio, which is a room with no windows. But, it is a studio. I love it. It's organized. And a lot of people went down to see that too. So there's the studio tours, there's plein airs where maybe all the guild members or whoever signed up to it will go out and paint, create art together. There's teaching nights. So, for example, in our guild on Wednesdays, people come to just draw and paint together. You can as a guild member, you can be one of the teachers, or you can just come and paint with everybody else, just again for that same sense of community. Um, and the other events might include things like, of course, gallery shows. So one of the major doors that opened to me is an easier way to be showcased in a gallery. It was a group show by the guild. It wasn't like my solo show or anything, but I'm just starting out, right? I'm just starting out to be a part of artist community and to get my work out there, even though I have been an artist for years. But if you know me personally, you know that I mostly focused on jewelry for years and then pins. And this year I'm really focusing 95% of my attention on embroidery and canvas, like this deer here. So I need those doors to be open, and that's what Guild is really good at doing, because they book some shows or some um, group gallery exhibitions slash sales for you. The third thing that I learned from joining the Guild is that it's a two-way street. You don't just join to get all the perks and be invited to all these events and gallery shows, get your work out there. You also contribute back to your guild in some way. And so the way our guild is set up, which is probably pretty typical, is that first of all, there's a monthly meeting. So we all meet not to make art or even discuss our art. That's not what happens at the monthly guild meeting. It's to discuss business of the guild. What events are coming up? What are some opportunities for the guild members? And also a big part of it is committees reporting to the guild on what they have done or are planning to do. So within the, I don't know, 20 plus member guild that we have several committees. I right away was invited to think how I can be useful to the guild. And I was, someone suggested that I join the publicity committee, just because publicity committee deals with the website, the online store, the social media, and of course promotions too. But because I have, some tech background, and maybe you can say I'm tech savvy, I was invited to join that committee, and I did right away. And I had things to do, and I still have things to do on ongoing basis. So you contribute back to the guild by being useful somehow. And if social media or running the website or promotions is not your thing, you will find something else that you can do. For example, you can run that Wednesday night teaching group or painting group, where you're present and you just, whoever shows up, which could be children, teenagers, adults, whoever, right? You can be helping them. Or you can be on the committee that's in charge of our guild's Christmas store, which is another event, another open door to us all, because for 2 months we will be showcasing and selling our work in a local store. Basically, we move in to a space that is not occupied right now. We found this year we found a store that where the owner retired, and so they have this open space that they rented out to us. So you could be contributing that way. So yeah, I kind of combined a lot of things that I've learned about being in a artist guild. But like I said, the biggest lessons learned is that really gratitude for being part of an artist community more. And when you're part of an artist community, you're also part of the local community in general, because you get to meet people and show them your work. All the open doors and opportunities that a guild may provide to you. And of course, don't forget that you will be expected to contribute back with whatever skills that you have, other than your directly related artist skills. Hope this talk was a little bit helpful to you if you're maybe starting out as being an artist. Maybe you've been working alone in isolation in your studio or your home, like I did for years, and you're looking for that sense of community and connection with other artists. Talk next time.